Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
Hey y'all, happy St. Patrick's Day. My name is Elena Grace and I'm your host, and you're listening to another episode of I've Been Thinking. Now, I wanted to do something kind of fun for today. You know, I love celebrating. I love a theme, and I love Ireland. It has always been a part of my family history. It's always been a part of me and things that I enjoy. I loved going there. Last year with Adam, he and I went to Ireland, both of us for the first time together, and that was an incredible experience. So I really enjoy all things Ireland and have since I was a little kid. So I wanted to share with you something that's kind of special to Ireland, kind of uniquely Irish, right? So today I am telling you about an Irish legend, St. Patrick himself. We're going to learn about him. We're going to hear his real life story and then some of the legends that came from his life story, right? So it's really interesting, and I'm excited to talk with you more about it, okay? So, St. Patrick, by the way, if you hear some dishes clanging around, Adam is making homemade egg rolls right now. So just be happy for me and please ignore the dishes. So, St. Patrick, he is the patron saint and the national apostle of Ireland, which I think that's pretty hilarious. Imagine you have a national flower, you have a national flag, maybe a national bird, and then you have a national apostle. That is really funny. That is such an Irish thing, if you think about it. But anyway, so St. Patrick is super well known today because of the fact that he is credited with bringing Christianity to ancient pagan Ireland back in the 5th century, way back in the 5th century. And he is probably at least partially responsible for the Christianization of the Picts and the Anglo-Saxons of Ireland, which broadly is the ancient Celts who lived in that area. Now, St. Patrick was born in Britain. He was not ethnically Irish. So the whole St. Patrick's Day, Erin go bragh, Kiss Me I'm Irish stuff, a lot of it is kind of, well, we'll get to that. So anyway, St. Patrick was born in Britain, and at age 16, he was actually kidnapped from his family's villa. Now, He was the son of a church deacon and a minor community official. So they were kind of well off, but they weren't royalty or anything by any means. Now, he was kidnapped from his family's home by Irish raiders, and he was carried, I imagine, over someone's shoulder back to Ireland to become a slave. He spent 6 years in slavery as a herdsman, and during this time, he focused fervently on his faith to get him through, this absolutely terrible time. I cannot imagine being kidnapped and forced into slavery. Unfortunately, it happens all the time, even still today. But I would imagine I would also have to focus on my faith to get me through that. That's exactly what he did. So 6 years in, he has this prophetic dream, Patrick does. Just one day he wakes up and he is like, my ship that I am supposed to escape on is ready to go. It is prepared for me. So he ran. He ditched his duties. He said, "See ya, master," and he ran. And he did get passage on that ship to get back to Britain. Now, you can't tell me there wasn't something real going on right there. Now, while Patrick was in Britain, he came damn near to starvation, and he was actually briefly in captivity again. Lots of slavery. We love that. Thanks, Rome. I blame Roman influence on that mainly. But Patrick was finally reunited with his family, and, they're kind of chilling for a while, but after his return, he writes in his journal that he actually has a dream, another prophetic dream, wherein he was told that he needs to return to Ireland to help them. He said he heard the voice of the Irish people saying that they needed Patrick to walk amongst them once again. And he was deeply moved by this. I can imagine. Having a dream that you have to go back to the place where you were held in slavery to help those people. Like, that's either some major, what's it called? Where you're obsessed with your captor. Stockholm Syndrome. Wrong city. Stockholm Syndrome. That's it. So it's either some major Stockholm Syndrome or that's some real universe God stuff going on right there. And I do like to believe it was the latter. So Patrick has this dream and he's very unsure about it. For a long time, he is kind of pushing it away. And who can blame him? Honestly, I'm sure he has PTSD from that experience. That's where he was held in slavery. I don't know if anything exceptionally awful happened to him while he was in slavery, but then again, isn't slavery just awful enough in and of itself to not make you want to go back there, But he ultimately comes to the decision that he is going to go back, and he does. He is scared about it up to the moment that he gets on the ship. But once he does, he is like, okay, I'm ready. This is it. And we know all of this because he was one of the most prolific, journal writers of all, Christian icons. Essentially, the most. Well, it's very rare that you see people write in their journal as honestly that he does. But once he gets back to Ireland, he is absolutely convicted that this is what he should be doing. And like I said, he gets on that boat and he is like, yeah, this is it. And he gets there and he's like, yes, this is it. And he is confident in his mission. And Patrick journeys all over Ireland. He is making connections with kings and local officials. He's teaching Christianity. He's baptizing new converts. But he lived in constant danger of martyrdom, even though he was super careful to remain as humble and kind and fair to everybody as at all possible. And, I wanted to point this out because I think this is something that a lot of modern day Christians could learn from. Y'all heard me. Going on missions for personal gain is no bueno, and acting better than everybody else is not Christ-like. Patrick knew that. You should know that too. Now, like I was saying, Patrick's writings are incredibly unique and important because, like I said, it's incredibly rare that an important religious Christian person's diary had shared his thoughts and fears and ultimately all of the inner workings of his soul in the way that Patrick did. One critic of his has actually said that Patrick's, quote, moral and spiritual greatness, end quote, shone through in every sentence that he wrote. A critic of his said that he was morally and spiritually great and that it shone through in every sentence. I truly believe that St. Patrick was so fixated on God and his relationship that it is just like, it is an awesome thing. So this is even evident in a very public way because Patrick is actually well known for his letter to Coroticus, which is a denunciation of British mistreatment of Irish Christians. And this is super important because throughout all of history, many Britons have preferred to ignore the plights of the Irish and oftentimes even make them worse rather than standing up for them. The Irish have been stepped on, mistreated, shit on, literally, so much throughout history. All the way back even, this is the 5th century AD. And they were being treated like crap. And it has not stopped. And Patrick stood up for them. And that is super rare. And that is a really important thing because it goes to show how in touch with his morals and his spirituality and how serious he was about being truly Christ-like. If you can hear Winnie licking, I'm so sorry. She's jingling around over here. Now, all of this factual background discussion is to set up for the legends that have come from Patrick's existence, okay? And I'm really excited to tell y'all some awesome stories for St. Patrick's Day. Now, one of the lesser known but really important legends about St. Patrick involves him debating with the ancient Celtic hero Oisin. Now, in Celtic mythology, Oisin was a Fianna. The Fianna were a legendary group of ancient, kind of demigod-esque, but not immortal, heroes led by Finn McCool or Finn McCool. Oisin fell in love with Niamh, who was a Celtic goddess and a queen of the land of eternal youth, which is kind of like a separate dimension, like an otherworld kind of thing, right? So Oisin went there to live with her for several hundred years. But when you're in the land of eternal youth, the otherworld, time passes differently, right? So this allowed Oisin to maintain his youth and his strength. But eventually he got homesick for Ireland. So Niamh allowed him to return home as long as he stayed on his horse and promised to never touch the ground. Super important, okay? Now, no surprise, his visit was super disappointing because O'Sheen realized once he got back to, Ireland, that it had changed over the centuries that he had been gone. All of his friends that he had known and loved and fought beside of were dead. It's a totally different country. Nothing there is the same as it was when he was there. So he's like, all right, yeah, this kind of sucks. This is not what I was expecting. Guess I'll go back to the other world, the land of eternal youth. But on his way back, he sees a man struggling to lift a stone. O'Sheen wants to help him because he's a good dude. So he leans over from his saddle to help, but the saddle breaks and O'Sheen falls off his horse. Now, as soon as he touches the ground, O'Sheen begins to age rapidly, turning into a feeble old man, which more so reflects the age that he should be after a few centuries. Now, St. Paddy, before his sainthood, so Paddy, just so happens to be walking by, of course, as O'Sheen lay on the ground dying, and they start talking. The discussion turns to religion, and of course, Patrick gets the better of the debate, and O'Sheen dies. Now, this is clearly, not even overtly, this is like the most obvious symbolism of Christianity overcoming the ancient gods, the Celtic gods. Now, this is literally propaganda, and it was probably written by medieval monks who were trying to overcome the fact that ancient Celtic beliefs and traditions were still held very strong in Ireland even centuries after Patrick helped to convert it. And even today, if you know very much about Ireland or have ever visited, ancient traditions are still held in high regard, and the church ended up having to adopt some ancient Celtic deities into the church to help people convert and stay a part of the Christian church. Because numbers are all that matters, not souls. I don't know. But anyway, so for example, my favorite Celtic goddess is Bridget. She is a goddess of warfare and the forge, but also of nature and of motherhood. And I just think I love her symbolism. I love all of these things about her. And she's also a goddess of healing. Her well in Ireland, which I made Adam drive out of the way so that we could visit, is still to this day a place where people go and tie a piece of clothing from an ill person or a note or something like that. They tie that onto one of the trees by her well. They dip it in the water and then tie it to the tree. And as long as it's there, it's supposed to be kind of like tethering her to that person so that she can help heal them. Now, today it's called St. Bridget's Well because the Catholic Church ended up sanctifying her. I'm not Catholic. I don't know. They made her a saint, okay? And she is still Saint Bridget, in the Catholic Church, but that tradition has carried through over centuries and centuries. And it was amazing going there knowing, how many people have come here to do these exact things over and over and pray for people and bring people's, a piece of their clothing or whatever to her. And, I rambled quite a bit, actually. I got a little bit off my point. But the point I was making was that still today, ancient traditions hold very strong in Ireland. So can you imagine in the Middle Ages being one of those Christian monks and trying to figure out how can we get these people to let go of this. Obviously, they never really did, but they're trying to figure out how can we get these people to move on. So they're creating propaganda about overcoming the ancient ways with new Christianity. And that's how these legends begin, you know? Just like the iconic, very well-known story about Patrick banishing the snakes from Ireland. Now, more or less, the story goes that Patty was fasting in isolation for 40 days. Sounds like lockdown. On top of a mountain that today is known as Craigpatrick. He finishes up his fast and he's coming down the mountain and he sees a group of snakes in front of him. Patrick was angered by this for some reason. Like maybe he was grumpy, maybe he was actually scared of snakes and didn't vibe with them. Maybe it was the symbolism, you know, who knows. And he chased the snakes into the sea, where he banished them from Ireland forever. And that's why there are no snakes in Ireland. And there really aren't. There are no snakes in Ireland. Now, scientifically, though, there's evidence for why this is. Technically, the absence of snakes in Ireland is because probably during the Ice Age, global temperature changes and melting glaciers and all of that, like pretty normal stuff, like the glacier, the temperature changed and snakes started moving further north because it wasn't as cold up there. But the ice caps melted before they made it into Ireland, which is an island. So they just never made it across, right? Totally makes sense. But this story, which was probably another like awesome source of propaganda, probably from those same pesky monks, this story was an awesome way of exemplifying Christianity driving out and overcoming paganism, especially because snakes were a symbol of the Druids. The Druids are the Celtic priest class. So this is a very symbolic legend. And I mean, the implications of it just really keep going, but to boil it down, it's just Christianity overcoming paganism. And it's as simple as that. And it's so obvious. They don't even try to hide it, you know? But then it becomes such a part of culture and lore that some people really think that he literally said, no more snakes. And they just went poof, you know? I don't know. It's really interesting. Now, there are other legends that aren't just anti-pagan propaganda, or they're not like super anti-pagan propaganda. Now, Patrick himself wrote once in a diary of his, and, you know, like we know, like we've talked about, he loved his diaries, and he was very honest in them, that he had performed a miracle of raising the dead back to life. Now, Jesus did that, so that's pretty, like, wild that he writes that he did that. Now, one source cites this, that he had done this, that Patrick had done this 33 times. To that I say, what? Because that's more than Jesus. So I'm really unsure about that number. Not that I'm doubting the power that Patrick could probably channel. Because, I mean, if he was as good of a Christian and as Christ-like of a man as he seems to have been, I mean, totally. Maybe he did rise 33 men from the dead. But more so, I'm doubting the credibility of the 12th century monks who are writing these numbers down after the fact. They were probably ready to smudge some numbers and make that 2 look like a 4, whatever. Also, I do have to kind of question just a little bit, to be healthily skeptical. I think, some of the people reportedly had been dead for months that he raised from the dead. How did they feel when they got up? I would like to know that. But I also want to question, were these people in comas? Some of them, maybe. Were they catatonic for some other reason? I wonder, or maybe there was just one person and somehow he did bring them back. Maybe there was just one person and he did truly perform a miracle. I don't know. I don't think we ever will. Well, not until we get to ask St. Patrick. Hopefully in the next life we'll be in the same place he is, because I know he's not anywhere bad. But there's a lot of questions there, that I think are fair to ask. Now, Patrick also reportedly prayed for the provision of food for some hungry sailors who were traveling on land through Ireland, through a particularly desolate area. And suddenly, a herd of pigs appeared, as if by miracle. Now, I think, first of all, I want to say that I think the Christian fixation on herds of swine is really interesting. I'm not going to lie. Like, how many times has a herd of swine somehow saved the day? A couple. It's interesting. It's weird. Why is there always a convenient herd of swine? And if swine have come in handy so many times, why are they not kosher, literally, for God's chosen people? Because the Jews, because they come really in handy for the Christians. I don't know. There's some gaps in logic and methodology. No, theology, truly, there. And it's interesting. Also, I do want to say that, I've been to Ireland, like I mentioned, and there's nowhere that I've seen that's particularly desolate. Like, it's not like America where you're at the ocean, like on the beach, and you can drive for 3 hours and there's a desert. Like, even back then, back in the 5th century AD, when it took a few days to walk from place to place, I don't know that there's really anywhere that you can't make it through. Like, you're not the ancient Jews dragging through the desert. You're in a subtropical, veritable paradise. Like, I could make the argument that the Garden of Eden was in Ireland if it weren't obviously in Africa. Like, this place, it rains every 2 hours. Like, how is it desolate? I don't get it. But this one is just, this legend, is just a little sus to me because, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. But heck, maybe the sailors just didn't pack well and they were just super hungry and there were no drive-thrus open that weekend. None of the villagers had any sandwich meat. Who knows? I'd believe the herd of swine appeared though. I think I believe that. That seems pretty legit. It follows history, follows the interesting fixation on herds of swine. Now, St. Patrick actually died on March 17th, 461, which is where we get the date of his feast, March 17th, and also the day of green beer. Now, in Ireland, this was traditionally more of a day of remembrance and religious celebration, as many of the saints' feast days are. They're days to remember your loved ones, to remember the things this particular saint did, whatever. But immigrants to the United States evolved the holiday into a secular celebration of Ireland and Irish heritage, which happened especially in cities with large Irish populations. Now, this is wild. I have to tell you this fun fact. Boston held its first St. Patrick's Day parade in 1737. That was before America was even its own country, and Boston was having St. Patrick's Day parades. That is hilarious. That's the most Boston thing I've ever heard. That is just, it's incredible. It's iconic. But I just think it's so funny that St. Patrick was a man of God. He truly was. If anyone since Jesus himself has been a man of God, it has been St. Patrick. And I will stand by that statement. But he was this man dedicated to humility and kindness and helping your neighbor and just spirituality with such zeal. And now his name is associated with green beer. Kiss me, I'm Irish. What a turn. What a turn of events. Now, fun fact, another one. St. Patrick was traditionally connected with the color blue, but because of the holiday being kind of converted to a secular holiday, now we think of green because, Ireland. Now, most of the St. Patrick's Day stuff that we do in America that's like super psycho is pretty uniquely American, actually. A few of the celebratory traditions were eventually adopted by the Irish, mainly like having some St. Patrick's Day like attire, like a leprechaun hat, or like a headband that says like Happy St. Patty's Day or something like that, and then having a parade through the town, that kind of vibe. That has kind of been adopted by the Irish, but that's actually mainly for the benefit of tourists who kind of make a pilgrimage to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in the old country itself. You got to give the people what they want. It's provocative. It gets the people going. It gets the money flowing, But the Irish people, that's just really not how they celebrate. And I think it's funny that so many Americans say, oh, I want to go to Dublin to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. It would be so amazing there. No, honey. No. It's amazing to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in Boston. It's amazing because it's a secular holiday here in America, and that's what you're expecting. You're not going to get exactly what you're expecting if you go to Dublin to celebrate this, Like, you're going to get what you're expecting in Savannah, Georgia, which weirdly has like the second largest St. Patrick's Day celebration in the United States. You're going to have a ton of fun in Chicago, Probably Austin, Texas. I don't know about it, but I bet they vibe with St. Patrick's Day because Austin is weird. And I love it. Like, those are the places you want to go. Dublin, not so much. Don't go be an embarrassing American with all your green stuff in Dublin. And that's all I've got to say on that. But anyway, I really hope that y'all have enjoyed learning about St. Patrick today, about the history of St. Patrick's Day just a little bit, and, about kind of some of the differences between how we celebrate and how it's actually celebrated in Ireland. I think that kind of thing is super interesting, and I hope y'all have too. Now, if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure that you subscribe wherever you're listening. Make sure that you check out our Patreon, where you get extra content every month, especially if you're at the $10 tier. you are supporting the podcast, but you're also going to get weekly episodes of me talking about current events, which, hello, political science degree. I can talk about some stuff. Also, I'm hilarious. What's not to lose? I hope that y'all have loved this episode. I really do. Now go out, drink responsibly, be careful, still wear your mask. Erin go bra, and happy St. Patrick's Day. I love you, and I'll talk at y'all next week. Bye.
Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist, and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.